All right, let's talk college football playoff scenarios. Greg McElroy recently analyzed a hypothetical situation that we have never seen. The 5 Power 5 champs go undefeated. Who gets left out? Now, during an episode of Always College Football, McElroy answered a mailbag question about what the playoff committee would do if all 5 Power 5 conference champions went undefeated. Now, the writer gave the example of Clemson, Georgia, Texas, Michigan, and USC. So McElroy, of course, dove right into it. As I'm sure some of you remember, this happened in the BCS back in 2004. Auburn was the odd man out after Oklahoma and USC ran through the Big 12 and the Pac-12. Now, could you imagine an SEC team being left out in that scenario these days? Highly, highly unlikely. But either way, he pointed out that when considering non-conference matchups, Clemson would have a win over Notre Dame. USC would have a win over Notre Dame as well. Michigan would have a win against Ohio State, although Michigan's non-conferences, just bleh. Texas would have a win over Alabama. Georgia, the defending champion, does not have a particularly strong non-conference schedule. But they will have an SEC championship game. So, again, McElroy believes that Georgia's overall resume and the eye test, of course, would still impress the committee, especially since they've won the CFP the last 2 years. Technically, that shouldn't matter, but we all know, right? So in that scenario, 5 teams from 5 different conferences going 13-0, who gets left out? Now, McElroy ultimately picked Clemson as the team that would miss out. He made it clear it's not a knock on the Tigers. It's a matter of simple math, right? You got 4 spots. You got 5 undefeateds. Which one is less likely? The SEC and Big Ten champions, very likely to have secured their spots, leaving everyone to wonder, how the committee is going to evaluate Clemson, Texas, and USC along with their respective conferences. Now, I tend to agree with McElroy. Why Clemson? According to him, it all boils down to how the committee would compare the ACC to the Big 12 and the Pac-12. Like, if all 3 teams, Clemson, Texas, and USC, are barely scraping by with close wins, at that point, it would be kind of difficult to predict their fate. You got to figure out factors like team performance in the final month, improvement over the season, playoff experience, all that kind of stuff that would come into play. And I can understand his reasoning here. It all makes logical sense, right? But I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist. Like, the CFP is basically run by a group that wants to see the best TV ratings so they can sell it at the highest price, right? You're still in a situation where you're working on contracts. You're trying to figure out what you're going to get after 2026, or I guess after the 2025 season. If Georgia and Michigan are automatically in, and we would assume that they will be, even though they will have the weakest non-conference resumes, it comes down to Texas, USC, and Clemson as to which 2 are going to bring in the higher TV ratings, right? Like the LA powerhouse, the state school of the second most populated state in the U.S., or the second largest university by enrollment in the state of South Carolina. Like, you see where I'm going with this? You leave it to chance, you're not going to like the results, obviously. But let's keep in mind, this is an extremely unlikely scenario. It's just an off-season hypothetical. It's not real life. McElroy's analysis, that kind of sheds light on his perception of the current value of the ACC, but that's about it. So, we'll wait and see how the actual college football playoff field shapes up. But, man, if this actually happens, could you imagine the drama? I live for this kind of stuff, doing a college football talk show, right? This would be absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. I can't wait to see what would happen in a situation like that. Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Make sure and follow me on Twitter @GaryWCE. If you want to toss in a question, you can email me, Gary@winningcureseverything.com. Make sure and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.